Welcome everybody to Influencing Up. It's our inaugural episode, and I'm delighted to be here with a friend and somebody who I admire greatly, Johnny DeBrito, who will introduce himself in a moment. But welcome, Johnny.
Thank you, Lashley. Thanks for having me on the show today.
We're going to talk about a really important topic today, which I really believe is the foundation of influence and executive presence. But I'd like to start with just an introduction. We're going to talk about Rapport today. Tell us what you're doing professionally.
The hospitality industry really molded me and prepared me to make this move into the real estate industry. So I am in the business of helping people now buy and sell homes. It's really special. I think a lot of my mentors, a lot of the people I looked up to in the hospitality industry ended up leaving hospitality to be a realtor. And it makes total sense.
Yeah, well, for our international audience, Colorado is a beautiful part of America with mountains and beautiful scenery. And it's a very hot real estate market. People have second homes here. They are moving here from other places because it's just such a great place to live with a really great lifestyle. So it's an interesting industry to be in. And your success depends on a lot of special skills outside of just what people might think is traditional. So I'd like to hear from you as a luxury retailer. Your business is built on a foundation of relationships and building rapport with people so that you can help them live their dream in their dream home. And so I'd like to hear how your luxury hospitality background informed your approach to luxury real estate and how Rapport lays that foundation.
It's special to be able to say that I have this foundation in hospitality and luxury. And to have been around such leadership and to have been in a position because of leaders positioning me in a way that allowed for me to build rapport early as a professional, right? So I'm in my 20s, I'm in Manhattan, and I have the opportunity to start to just build relationships and naturally. And I leaned in on who I was. I think it takes a special kind of person. Not everybody is interested in building rapport. And I say that, and I mean that there are some people who aren't built for it. It's not for everyone to build rapport. And I think if you're a business owner, then you need to hire and position someone who is going to build rapport for that business. If you're an entrepreneur, you've got no choice. You've got to build your rapport. You've got to build your brand, your reputation, build trust. I was leaning in on my gift. And I think my gift is being able to be present and listen and understand and act. And so that's kind of led me to all of my success, and the relationships that I've built has stuck around. I keep those relationships close to me. I foster those relationships, and that's how you're successful in business. And I want to say also that being in this market has allowed for me to restart. And I find it really exciting to be in a new market, not in New York, not in LA, but in Denver, and to restart and to start over really, and to continue to build a rapport that's beyond what I've done in the past. And it's all new and exciting for me.
Yeah, I too share a hospitality back. My experience was always you have guests that are staying kind of short periods, right? And so you're building those micro moments with them. But a home buying experience could last months. So how did you take those micro moments that you might have had working in hotels, even with repeat guests coming in, but it's really just a few days here and there, and amplify that to a kind of a longer term experience with your clients?
No, I really enjoyed both aspects. So yes, you're a hotel guest, you're staying at a hotel for a weekend, and you have, as a hotel professional, you have these moments that you can make memorable for these guests. In real estate, you're working with people for a longer period of time. And the goal is to get them to where they need to be. They have a timeline they share with you, and it's imperative for them to meet that timeline, meet those deadlines. But I really, really enjoy developing that relationship over time. It's really special. And I did the same thing. You know, we connect with people in hotels, we exchange contact information, you send emails, you send text messages, you stay in touch, they come back, you have guests for life, and that's special, right? And you keep those guests along the way, and they keep coming back, and their kids come back, and it's special. And real estate, similarly, you connect and you have this relationship, and once you hit the closing table, it doesn't end there. You continue to build on that relationship, and you continue to just show them appreciation and continue to stay in touch. Hey, just thought of you. It could be totally random, it could be intentional, but they're the client that are going to refer you other clients. And so we're all aware as realtors that this is what's important to be successful in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard you say in the beginning just about how important it is to listen, to really pay attention to what it is that people want and what they want out of either a holiday experience, a business trip, when it comes to hotels, or a home where they raise their family, or maybe where they come for a vacation. So I'd love to hear a story. I'm sure you have some great stories. Tell us about a story that sticks out in your mind about building rapport.
So I'll tell you a quick story about a role, positioning, and timing. So the years 2007, 2011, in between that time, we had a financial crisis, and it was pretty nuts. Then you've got New York Central Park South, which is one of the best locations in our country. It's just in my opinion. And then there's a role. I got to play this role, the maitre d' of a luxury hotel. And so this is me in my 20s, and this is me in my start. And I excelled thanks to a leader who saw something in me and gave me this opportunity to help the entire brand build a rapport. This is what I touched on earlier too. It's about like putting that person, if you're a business owner, you have to find the right piece, that right person, and positioning that person to be able to build rapport for the company, for the brand. And I was very successful at it. I don't know how this leader knew. We had just briefly met, and he just put me in the position to be successful. And that I did. And so on a specific story, which is very relevant and I'm very grateful for, there was an older couple that we called handle with care. So HOC, okay, this is a little insight, right? Handle with care guest means like, hey, they're going to have a lot of needs, and you've got to triple check and make sure that all their needs are met and exceeded, right? Because these are handle with care guests. Well, I developed a rapport with them, and I did what I could to make their stays, which were maybe 4 or 5 a year, memorable. And I actually ran into them at Madison Square Garden for a dog show, the Westminster Dog Show. And they were active at the dog show, and it was pretty cool to understand, okay, that's why these guests come and stay in New York, and that's why these guests can come and stay in New York, because they were successful in that industry. Fast forward to a year ago, and I'm in Denver sitting at a bar that was celebrating a grand opening, and across from the bar was that same couple I met back in 2007. And that same couple was looking at me, and they were trying to figure out who I was. They knew they recognized me, but they just couldn't put it together. So I get up, and I think I pulled my mask down, and I introduced myself as Johnny from the Ritz-Carlton in New York Central Park. And they knew immediately who I was, and they wanted to know why I was here. And I shared that I was here due to the pandemic, and made the move, and was now a realtor. And immediately they said they wanted to work with me because of the rapport that I built, because of the brand that I come from, because of that sophistication. They just felt like, okay, I know this person. He's going to help us sell our house someday. It hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen. I'm very confident that they chose me, and they've told me several times, this is why. And so I love that story. I'm happy I get to share that with all of you.
I love that story. Thank you, Johnny, because we know that influence and presence is built on authentic connection, and not just a momentary transactional connection, but a connection that endures and that we can sustain over a long period of time. So I'm happy to hear that you were able to reconnect with these guests. Who would have known, in Denver, Colorado? So our audience is from everywhere in the world. At TCP Growth, we have friends and colleagues and partners in China. We have them in the UAE. We have them in countries in Europe, the UK, the US, all over the place. So we obviously, we're two Americans. We're kind of talking about an American approach to things, but working in a hotel in New York City, you're going to have guests from all over the world. So is there a difference when it comes to rapport, building rapport with an American versus somebody who might be in town from Shanghai or Bangkok? Tell me about that.
I think it's important that we acknowledge everyone's differences. We embrace everyone's differences. There is a difference. I lean into my gifts. Like I mentioned earlier, it's about understanding, hearing, listening, and getting a feel for what people want and need, and also anticipating. You know, they don't have to say anything for you to know they're hot or they're cold. Like you can observe these things. So I think it's very important to build rapport with people the way they kind of want to build rapport with you. I know that over time, rapport strengthens, right? You got a relationship that is brand new. And I'll give you a good example, actually. I met someone on a walk in my neighborhood, walking the dog. We've been on a first name basis, right? He knows my first and last name, but I know his first name, and that's all I've known. He invited me over his home. We had drinks and connected and talked real estate, and still only knew his first name. And it wasn't until just yesterday that I asked him for his email address. And it's been like a 6-month relationship that I'm trying to build, but I'm going at his pace. He's not, I don't feel like he's that comfortable sharing his information, although he invited me into his home, he's still very, I can feel that he's still very, very particular about the information that he gives out. And so I respect that. I protect his privacy. I don't dig. I think it just came up when I had sent him a home that was in the neighborhood for sale. And I said, can you react to this home? Can you tell me if you'd be interested? And he gave me his reaction, his feedback, and I asked him for his email address. And that's kind of how I got his last name, right? His last name is in the email. So I think that's an example of just kind of feeling other people out and not jumping the gun to just kind of be the same way with everyone. It's not going to work out.
You've mentioned listening before, and this sounds like beyond just listening to what people are saying out loud, it's also paying attention to the nonverbal communications and noticing their level of comfort that they're expressing, being cold or being hot, like you said. So listening really is listening with ears, but also with eyes, and noticing and picking up on those reactions, the small gestures. So we have the pleasure of it being a beautiful summer and we can get outdoors, and you gave the great example of out walking with your neighbors. But today people are working virtually, and they may have clients internationally that they will never meet in person. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you had this experience in the virtual world, and how do your tips for building rapport translate?
I think we had no choice for those months and months quarantining to learn how to build rapport virtually. Being in person is so effective for me. I enjoy being in like control of all the elements. I like the idea of having someone meet me at the office. So when we have to try to develop rapport virtually on Zooms, it's a challenge, but it's effective, and I'm very grateful that we have the opportunity to do this. I think we lean into, well, myself personally, I lean into taking advantage of showing face virtually and just leaning into the listening part, right? Asking the right questions. It's about getting to know people and for them to see you. And I look right into the camera when I talk, and I try to ask questions about family, ask questions about occupation, ask questions about recreation, like what do they do for fun? And then lastly, try to ask questions about their dreams. That's when it's a struggle, right? When I'm on a call and we're having a hard time, because this happens, right? It happens to everyone. You might be on a virtual Zoom and you might struggle to connect with the person on the other side. That was FORD, Ford, right? Ask about their family, their occupation, recreational, and dreams. Otherwise, it should be like clockwork. Like you should be able to get on a Zoom, especially at this point. We're in 2022, and it should be easy to connect. It should be easy to develop rapport and generate a relationship. I think I've done a good job of that. But maybe there are times where it just didn't work out. I've had listing presentations and buyer meetings, buyer interviews, and some of those people have chosen to work with other realtors. I wonder if it's because we had to do it virtually. I don't know. But I think there's just some tips there, some thoughts there, maybe some ways that you can think about to get more creative, to be more effective in building relationships virtually.
So now we're ready for one tip, one stellar takeaway that you can share with our audience that will help them get started on a path to building rapport, building connections that last. I'd love to hear from you. One, maybe you have two, something that you can share with our guests.
I think it makes so much sense based on what we've covered today to make it two, right? The one big tip, the one big item that we've said throughout the course of this talk has been listen. But the other two that I wanted to add are the recording and the following up, right? Those are like make or break for business. The listening part is the fun part. I think the listening part is you get to know, you get to build, you get to understand, you get to ask questions, right? That's all listening, and even observing and paying attention, the nonverbal, right? But then when it comes to recording and following up, that's when you get to blow people away. That's when you get to really ingrain yourself in their kind of sphere, right? In real estate, we call it a sphere of influence. There's a reason why certain people are in that sphere of influence. And it's because you're able to connect with them on another level. And the only way you can connect on another level, unless you get lucky from time to time and remember someone's name when you pass them by on a street corner, you remember to ask for their son post wrist surgery or something like that. Like, it's best to record after you have a conversation with somebody, maybe on the phone or in person. You jot down some notes and you remember to set an alert to follow up. I think I'm nothing without my CRM. I think the fact that I have a database with all my contacts, with notes on all of my contacts, with alerts set up to allow me to follow up with all my contacts, that's a secret sauce. That's a special sauce, right? Having that in place and having that enable me to kind of strengthen my relationships and develop a rapport that is kind of stronger than anyone else. I think that's my goal. I want to be the best, and I want people to work with me and believe that I am giving them all of my attention, right? Like, wow, Johnny really cares. He knows about all these things and he remembers everything and he actually listens to me. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I love that. So 3 really valuable tips. Listen, which is more than just ears. It's ears, eyes, everything. Record, writing down the details, keeping a CRM of your own, a database, or maybe using a CRM that you have, and then respond to that. And that is setting alerts, remembering to follow up. I love that. Thank you so much for this valuable insight into the foundation of influence, which is really that creating that sphere of influence, listening, recording, and follow up. So thank you, Johnny, for joining us. It's a great start to our journey on the subject of influence, executive presence, authenticity.